and you can turn up the gain. We're doing a beginner tutorial today. This is strictly for the begins. It's not for the extensive dubstep gods, or maybe it is. Maybe you'll learn a thing or two. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell. I'm going to be making a lot more content just like this. So for the first thing I just want to go over is how amazing Ableton is. I use this because it's easy, user-friendly, and I'll be showing you different methods to make it even easier. I do recommend you get Serum so you can start designing your own sounds and use Splice for your samples. Sample choice is extremely important. We want to make sure you guys have hard-hitting drums and good vocals, good effects to use as well. Also, you can make beats and start learning timing to practice. It's gonna take a long time. Making dubstep isn't easy. There's a lot that goes into it, but the more you practice, the easier it's gonna get. And if you use these tricks, it's gonna go even faster for ya. So first off, I wanna show you these shortcuts. These are the shortcuts that I use most often. I love these. Command T, Command D, Command Shift M, Command Shift T. These are the things that you need to be doing. And this is what makes my workflow extremely fast. So I recommend it. Awesome. You also want to make sure that you understand a little bit of music theory. You don't have to learn the whole piano for this type of music. But if you want your intros to be melodic, if you want people to get emotional and, get feelings, you're gonna need to use music theory, which is just the piano. There's many scales to use. With bass music, we like D minor, E minor, F minor, D sharp minor. The lower keys with the strong bass notes. Specifically, what we're going to be using today is D minor. Main things you want to know here is the root note is the home, which is D. And we also want to pay attention to the third, which is F, and the fifth, which is A. These are notes that are going to sound really good. And the rule is you just use these keys when you make your music. You do not use these keys that are not highlighted. As long as you stay within these 7 keys, that means you're staying within scale, and everything will sound harmonically correct and beautiful to the soul. And remember, this is just one section of the piano. This could be the middle. You'll use these same keys up and down the whole piano. Okay? Perfect. Next thing that we want to actually look into is the way this looks right now, Ableton. There's an audio track and a mini track. This is probably what it's going to look like when you first open Ableton. This other section is the session view to play live. We can get into that a different day. But first thing I want to do is make our groups. We need kicks, we need snares, we need mid basses, which is the dubstep robotic sounds. We need melodies and melodics, which are the flutes and the synths. And then we want our vocals and our effects. We're going to make all those different groups. I'm going to put the template in the download description so you guys can get it if you want as well. Also, you want to look at the speed and the tempo up at the top left. Usually it's around here when you first start Ableton, but house music is usually at 128 or 125. Dubstep is at 140 or 150 or 160. Today we're going to make our dubstep at 150. Once again, this is the speed of the song. This is very important. You want to make sure you set this up at the beginning of your song. Okay, now what we can do is start making our groups. First thing we want is the kick and snare, the most important pieces of the song, to be processed separately. So for example, you'll have a kick right here, and then you'll have a snare right here. So this is our 2 sections, kick, snare. We won't use these, but these are 2 audio tracks to drag in your audio. This is my preferred way. You can make these MIDI tracks if you like, but for myself, I love audio. We're gonna recolor the snare this color. Now for the MIDI clip, I'll show you how this works real quick. Instead of dragging in audio, it'll look like this. It's not gonna work. On the MIDI clip, you'll highlight a section, you'll right click, you'll hit insert MIDI clip, or you can hit Shift Command M. this creates the piano roll. So you can start writing in your music from here. From here, we're going to use that D minor that we looked at earlier. We're going to start on the root note, which is D, right here. And I'm going to do 1, 4, 6, 4. 1, 4, 6, 4. Do 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll go up 4. 5, 6. Up 6. Then we'll go back to 4. Once again, we got 1, 4, 6, 4. We'll listen to that. You can highlight this section. You can duplicate it. Now in this next part, this next phrase, we're going to change it. Instead of 1, 4, 6, 4, we're going to do 1, 3, 5, 3. 1, 3, 5, 3. So then we'll simply just move this down to the 3. Move this on the 5. Highlight. Duplicate. I'm making a new audio track here. And what you can do is you can freeze this. And then what I do is hold Option and click and drag, and it drags this audio. So now we'll press solo to only hear this. They have a sound. I'll also put this sound in the download description as well. Easy sound we made with the chords. We can unfreeze this. Now we can start making our groups. So these two sounds, for example, these are melodies. So we'll highlight them, group them up, call them the melodics. Our first group for our melodies, these are our flutes, our synths, guitars, anything with a melody. We'll go click on snare and we'll hit Command T, Command T, Command T to add some audio tracks. We'll highlight these and group them up. Command G, and then we can call these drums. Perfect. Now with the drums, this is where you have the hi-hats, the rides, the crashes, the congas, any of those percussion elements. Next, we'll add a MIDI track, an audio track. Remember, you could right-click, hit Insert Audio, Insert MIDI, or use these shortcuts here. We'll group these together, and then we'll call this the mid basses. These are all the robotic dubstep sounds. We'll click here, hit Command TT, highlight these 3 audio tracks, group them up. We'll call this the effects for all the risers and the impacts and any other sound that you want to put in, like a siren or a crowd noise. Minimize that. And then we want to make an audio track. We'll call this the vocals. So we're starting to get our template together. We have a kick, a snare, effects, mid basses, drums, melodies, vocals. The last thing we need would be the sub. The subwoofer is going to be the actual bass, the actual low frequencies that you feel. This needs to be processed separately. I usually do it in a MIDI, so we'll just grab a MIDI and an audio, group them together. We'll call this the sub. Perfect. So now, every time you start Ableton, it'll look like this. Now to save your template, you'll just go Preferences, and then Save Current Set as Default. This will save it for every time in the future, so you can come back for an easy one. We'll go ahead and hit save. Save that template. I'll put that in the download description. Now we can go ahead and start making a drum loop. So I use Splice to get these drums. You can also look here in my library, in my pack section. I have a lot of other drums from different people too. Each drum is gonna sound different, you want to find different kicks for your genre. So I got these dubstep kicks, and I can simply click and drag them in. Usually the drop is at around 33, so we're just gonna go over here to 33, start making our drop over here. Nice, now we'll get a snare. Put that right here. And I'll just highlight perfectly on time. So you see I'm looking at these lines, looking at the numbers, highlighting on time, hitting Command D to duplicate. Doing the same highlighting on time, Command D. I'll do this with the snare as well. From here you can highlight the section and hit this button to loop it. Or you can press Command L. Awesome, now we can add a crash. And we could put it on the 1. You can always press this metronome to make sure you're on time. And then we can start adding more drums in this drum section. We have our audio tracks already ready to go, so we're just going to drag them in. So we'll get a ride, for example, like this. And we could put it right here. Make it go faster. We can even turn it down. I just double clicked it and I turned it down. We'll highlight these, and we'll duplicate. Highlight these, duplicate. Highlight this, duplicate. I'm going to put this back on 0, and I'm going to show you an easy way to start mixing your volumes. You'll want to add a utility and turn down the gain. So it'll turn down the sound. We'll do the same with this. So it's best to leave these filters at 0 and use the utility to change your volume. And then we can add a hi-hat. I zoomed in, and I'm looking at these lines up here. I'm adding a hi-hat. I'll find another one that I like this one instead. Highlight, duplicate. See, I messed up right here. We'll just fix that. Highlight on time, duplicate. And then we'll listen. Cool. Now we have a drum loop. Next thing I could show you is sidechain compression. We're going to this drum section and we're double clicking it. We're on the group. We're going to add a compressor. What we're doing here is we're lowering the volume of the drums, the rides and the hi-hats when the kick plays. So every time that kick plays, you hear it first. It's loud, while everything else lowers in volume. Once again, we're on these drums. We added a compressor. We'll hit this arrow. We'll hit sidechain. And we're going to bring the audio from the kick. The settings you want is the ratio that's turned all the way up and the attack that's turned all the way down. Now when we hit play, it's not doing anything. We have to turn this down. So now every time the kick plays, everything lowers in volume. And we can mix that in to sound clean. On the kick, you want to make your kicks louder. You can add a glue compressor. You can add a saturator. On the glue compressor, you can turn down the threshold. When you see it start affecting the signal, you can turn up the makeup. You can turn the attack down. Add a saturator. Let it dry and wet. And you have a fat kick. We can go back to this drum group. You can double click on this and hit Command D and take the audio from the snare as well. And now you're side chaining the kick and the snare, not just the kick. Mix that in accordingly. And then these, you could just simply Command C to copy. You can go to your other groups here, like the mid basses. Click in this section, Command V to paste. And you can just simply paste your sidechain compression to your other groups. Very easy. Now we can start making the basses. And you can turn up the gain.